I can't believe what's happening with our defensive line right now. A key player might be out for the whole damn season. Our defense is getting dominated by teams that shouldn't even touch us, and our head coach is finally admitting truths we all already knew. But do you think this means the season is over? I'm telling you, you're crazy. We have 3 pieces of news that will completely change how you see the rest of this season. And the first will break your heart. The second will make you angry, but the third will give you hope. Like if you still believe in this team, subscribe if you want the unfiltered truth about burgundy and gold, because what's coming will define if we're contenders or pretenders. You're crazy if you think injuries are going to stop hitting us like a hammer this season. Giovanni Jean-Baptiste tore his pectoral against Atlanta, and I'm telling you this with a completely broken heart. Early medical indications suggest it's a complete tear that would take him out for the rest of the 2025 campaign. Do you remember when we thought we finally had real depth on the defensive line? I believe fate is punishing this organization because every time we take 2 steps forward, 3 players get injured and send us 5 steps back. Jean-Baptiste wasn't a superstar like Montez Sweat, but he was a crucial piece in Dan Quinn's rotational scheme. Now I ask you, how many more injuries can this defense absorb before it becomes a sieve? Because look at the cold, hard numbers. Jean-Baptiste was playing about 38% of the defensive snaps, providing 15 to 18 fresh energy snaps per game when our starters needed rest. Without him, we're forcing Sweat and Dorrance Armstrong to play 75 to 80% of the snaps, which statistically increases the risk of injury by 23% according to NFL workload studies. That's burgundy and gold math, baby. And it doesn't lie. But do you know what really has me optimistic in the middle of this tragedy? That Adam Peters had already anticipated exactly these kinds of problems. I'm telling you this, Peters isn't like Bruce Allen waiting for things to fix themselves. This man signed Preston Smith in September, a 32-year-old veteran with 70.5 sacks in his NFL career. And do you think it was a coincidence? I think not. Smith knows this organization better than almost any active player because he started his career here in 2015 under Jay Gruden. He knows what it's like to play under pressure in the DMV, understands the fan base's expectations, and more importantly, he's still hungry to prove he can be productive. Now I ask you, but will Preston Smith be enough to not only replace Jean-Baptiste production but also compensate for the increased load on our starters? Because here's what many people aren't seeing. Smith isn't just a patch, he's potentially an upgrade. In Green Bay last season, Smith recorded 8 sacks and 23 quarterback hits playing in a defensive scheme similar to Joe Witt Jr.'s. At 32, he's not in physical decline. He's in his mental prime where he combines experience with refined technique. But do you want to know the X factor in this whole situation? Von Miller is waiting for his chance like a caged lion. At 36, Miller obviously can't play 70 snaps per game like in his Denver days. But in third down situations and 2-minute drills, he's still an absolute nightmare for opposing quarterbacks. I'm telling you this, Miller has 123.5 sacks in his career, a Super Bowl MVP, and more importantly, a competitive engine that's still running at 100%. In the few situational snaps he's played this season, he's shown that initial burst that made him famous. Jalen Holmes will also have to grow quickly in this situation. He's been bouncing around the league since Ohio State, playing for Minnesota, New Orleans, and now here. But do you know what I like about Holmes? That in the 47 snaps he's played this season, he's recorded 3 pressures and 2 tackles for loss. They're small numbers, but the efficiency is there. The technical reality is this. Losing Jean-Baptiste hurts the depth chart, but it's not the end of the world. Witt Jr. will have to be more creative with his pass rush packages, rotating Smith, Miller, and Holmes to keep fresh legs without sacrificing production. Do you trust these veterans to step up when we need them most? Because I believe this could be a blessing in disguise that forces us to use our veteran talent better. If that worries you, wait to hear what really has me angry about our defense. IT can't be what I saw at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And I'm not just talking about a bad afternoon. I'm talking about a defensive pattern that's becoming our worst enemy and could destroy our entire season if we don't fix it now. Did you see the numbers the Falcons put on us? Because I analyzed them line by line, and it made me want to throw the TV out the window. Bijan Robinson finished with 181 all-purpose yards. Drake London doubled his seasonal receiving average with 110 yards. Kyle Pitts almost did the same with 89 yards. And Tyler Allgeier ran through our defenders like they were practice cones. And do you know what's the most frustrating and humiliating part of all this? That these 4 players came into the game with 1 combined touchdown all season. 1. And we allowed them all to score in the same game. I'm telling you this. That doesn't happen by chance. That happens because there are fundamental problems in our defensive mentality and technical execution that Joe Witt Jr. needs to fix immediately or this season will slip away from us. Now, I ask you, when was the last time you saw Bobby Wagner, a linebacker with 8 Pro Bowls and over 1,400 tackles in his career, get completely outpaced by a running back on a 69-yard play? That Robinson play wasn't about athleticism. It was about positioning and gap discipline. Wagner was in the right position according to the scheme. But when Robinson came out of the backfield, Wagner didn't anticipate the wheel route and stood there like a rookie. That's not the Bobby Wagner we know. That's a veteran player not being adequately prepared by the coaching staff. But do you want to know what really has me furious? Martian Lattimore. We brought this man from New Orleans, where he was considered one of the best shutdown corners in the league, paying him $14.5 million per season. And he's getting burned by receivers who shouldn't even be in the same conversation as him. I believe the problem isn't Lattimore's talent. The problem is that Witt Jr. is using him incorrectly in his scheme. In New Orleans, Lattimore primarily played man coverage with safety help over the top. Here we're putting him in zone coverage where he has to constantly communicate with linebackers and safeties who don't speak his same defensive language. Yet, and do you know what's the most concerning part of all this? That we're failing in both man coverage and zone coverage. That means the problem isn't the scheme. The problem is fundamental execution and mental preparation. Now I ask you, how many times did you see Robinson and Allgeier break the first tackle on Sunday? Because I lost count after the 7th time. That's not about strength or speed. That's about technique and finishing plays. When I analyze the film, I see our defenders getting into the backfield, having tackle opportunities, but not finishing plays with the intensity and precision needed in the NFL. Do you think that's a coincidence? I'm telling you, it's not that we had that same problem with Ron Rivera for 3 seasons. Good initial penetration, but inability to finish tackles when it mattered most. Dan Quinn was supposed to change that soft mentality, but we're seeing the same symptoms. But here's what really worries me. Long term, we're allowing average offenses to look like the Chiefs of 2018. Michael Penix Jr., in only his 2nd season as a starter, looked like Tom Brady because we weren't generating consistent pressure, and our backs were given 5-yard separation on short routes. I believe we need an immediate intervention in tackling technique. We need more wrap-up tackling drills in practice, more emphasis on finishing through contact, and more accountability when players don't execute basic fundamentals. Did you see how we compared to our division rivals on Sunday? The Cowboys have their offensive issues, but Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence are still generating havoc in the backfield. The Eagles with Vic Fangio are constantly creating negative plays. The Giants are tackling with authority even when they lose. And us? We're allowing 4.8 yards per carry and 68% completion percentage to quarterbacks who shouldn't be completing more than 58% against the West. Competent defense. The hard truth is this. If we don't fix these fundamentals immediately, Justin Herbert will punish us even more harshly than Penix Jr. next Sunday. Herbert is coming in hurt after that embarrassing performance against the Giants, and they're going to use our weaknesses as target practice dot. Do you think we can fix such fundamental problems in a week of practice? Because I believe we need a miracle or a radical change of mindset. And when you thought we were done with the bad news, here comes Dan Quinn's response that has me completely divided. Finally, we have a head coach who isn't lying to our faces like we're idiots. Dan Quinn came out of that post-game press conference and said exactly the words we were all shouting in our living rooms. This sucks, and we have to grow. That's a must. That's burgundy and gold honesty. And after years of Ron Rivera talking in circles about executing better and staying focused without ever identifying specific problems, hearing Quinn be brutally honest gives me some hope. But do you know what caught my attention the most about his comments? That Quinn admitted something I've been saying since week 2. We've started slow in our 2 away games, while at home we've come out aggressive from the first snap. I'm telling you this. That's not a coincidence. That's a psychological and preparation problem that has a solution if Quinn really wants to tackle it. When I analyze the numbers, the difference is dramatic. We're converting only 31% of our third downs on the road, compared to 52% at home. Defensively, we're allowing 64% of third down conversions when playing outside the DMV compared to 39% at FedEx Field. Do you think that difference is about talent? I think not. That's about mentality and preparation. Now I ask you, but why do I respect Quinn's response so much when it could be seen as admitting weakness? Because we finally have a coach identifying specific problems and promising concrete solutions instead of generic coach speak. Quinn said that third down was a decisive factor on both sides of the ball. He wasn't trying to deflect responsibility. He was admitting that his game plan didn't adequately prepare the team for critical situations in a hostile environment. And do you know what else I like about his comments? That he didn't use injuries as an excuse. Quinn mentioned that we're playing without half of our week 1 offensive starters, but he didn't use it as justification for the poor defensive performance. That tells me he understands that defense has to be our constant while the offense recovers. I believe there's a fundamental difference between admitting problems and making excuses. And Quinn is on the right side of that line. Ron Rivera always found excuses: injuries, youth, weather, officiating. Quinn is saying, we got outplayed and outcoached. And that's on me. But here's my biggest concern. Quinn mentioned that we have 13 games ahead, in a tone that sounded like someone already thinking about long-term development instead of competing now. Do you think we should be focused on 2025, or can we still fight for playoffs this year? Because I'm telling you this, with 13 games remaining and an NFC that's wide open after the first 4 weeks, surrendering this season would be a massive mistake. The Cowboys are struggling, the Eagles don't look invincible, and the Giants are the Giants. Now I ask you, can Quinn and Witt Jr. make the necessary adjustments in a week to avoid another slow start against the Chargers? Because Herbert, Keenan Allen, and Khalil Mack are coming in hurt after that embarrassing performance against New York. If we don't fix our tackling, gap discipline, and third down execution problems before Sunday, Herbert will punish us even more brutally than Penix Jr., I believe. Quinn has exactly 1 week to prove he can adapt his system to the current limitations of the roster. The real question is, will he continue using the same defensive packages that clearly aren't working? Or will he swallow his pride and make radical changes to put our players in a position to succeed? Do you trust Quinn to make those adjustments, or do you think we need patience while he figures it out? Look, Commanders fans, these 3 pieces of news show us exactly where we are at this crucial moment of the season, battling devastating injuries, confronting systematic problems in defense that could derail everything, and finally having a coach who tells us the truth without sugarcoating. Jam Baptist is probably out for the rest of the year. Our defense is being dominated by offenses that shouldn't even be in the same conversation. And Quinn is finally admitting we have serious problems that need immediate solutions. But do you think this marks the end of our season? I'm telling you, you're completely crazy. We have Preston Smith ready to step up, Von Miller waiting to make impact plays, and a head coach who at least isn't lying to us about the situation. The question that determines everything is this: are you going to keep supporting this team as it navigates through these challenges? Or are you going to jump ship when things get difficult? Because I've been here since the days of Mark Brunell, Jason Campbell, and Robert Griffin III. And I can guarantee you that seasons are built in moments exactly like this dot. Do you think Preston Smith can not only replace Yang Baptist's production, but also elevate our entire pass rush? Do you think Witt Jr. needs to completely overhaul his defensive scheme before the Chargers game? And do you trust Quinn can fix these road game preparation issues before they cost us our playoff chances? If you still believe we can compete for a playoff spot, like this video right now. If you think we need major changes in the coaching approach, subscribe and hit that notification bell, because tomorrow I'll have exclusive analysis on exactly what adjustments Quinn needs to make. This is our Commanders family, and whether we're winning Super Bowls or fighting through adversity, we stick together as one. Don't let anybody tell you this season is over in September. We still have burgundy and gold running through our veins, and we still believe in this team. And remember, hail to the Redskins.